Some celebrities became famous for roles they secretly disliked, as many actors have admitted they weren't happy with the characters they played. Let's start our video. Robert Pattinson has openly expressed mixed feelings about his famous role as Edward Cullen in the Twilight Saga, often criticizing the character's overly serious, brooding personality, and calling him weird and unrealistic in interviews during the height of the franchise's popularity. Pattinson admitted he struggled to connect with Edward's behavior, and even found aspects of the role frustrating despite it making him a global star. Though over time he has softened his stance, slightly acknowledging the impact the role had on his career while still maintaining a humorous, slightly critical tone when reflecting on the character. Blake Lively has shared some critical feelings about her role as Serena van der Woodsen in The Gossip Girl, admitting that she sometimes found the character morally questionable and not always relatable, especially due to Serena's impulsive decisions and privileged lifestyle. Lively has said it was challenging to portray someone whose actions didn't always align with her own values, though she still appreciates the role for launching her career and connecting her with a massive fan base, often reflecting on it with honesty and a balanced mix of gratitude and critique. George Clooney has been very open about his dissatisfaction with his role as Bruce Wayne Batman in Batman and Robin, often stating that the film's tone and execution didn't match what he believes makes the character work. He has said in interviews that at the time he approached the role seriously, but the final product felt overly campy and poorly balanced, which made it difficult for him to deliver a grounded version of Batman, and he has even joked that the movie killed the franchise for a while. Despite the criticism, Clooney has also acknowledged that the experience taught him an important lesson about choosing scripts and understanding creative direction, and he now reflects on it with humor, rather than bitterness, accepting it as a misstep in an otherwise highly successful career in both film and television. Kate Winslet has spoken quite honestly about feeling uncomfortable with her early role as Rose DeWitt Bukater in the Titanic. Especially in the years after the film became a global phenomenon, she has admitted that watching her performance makes her cringe at times, particularly her American accent and some of her acting choices, saying she would approach certain scenes very differently today, and she has even described parts of her performance as too intense or overdone in hindsight. Despite the fact that the role made her an international star over time, Winslet has softened her criticism, acknowledging that she was very young and under immense pressure during filming, and she now views it as an important learning experience in her career, rather than something she is proud of artistically, while still appreciating the impact it had on her life and success. Megan Fox has been very outspoken about her mixed and often negative feelings toward her role as Michaela Baines in the Transformers, explaining in interviews that while the role brought her massive fame, she did not feel it allowed her much creative depth, and that the experience on set could be difficult at times. She has also suggested that the character was shaped more around visual appeal than meaningful storytelling, which made her disconnect from parts of the performance, and she later criticized how she was treated in the early phase of her career, especially during her work with the franchise. Over time, Fox has reflected on the situation with more perspective, acknowledging that the films were commercially successful and helped launch her into global recognition. But she still maintains that she did not fully enjoy or identify with the role, viewing it as a turning point that pushed her to seek more serious and controlled acting opportunities later on. Daniel Radcliffe has said he had a complicated relationship with his role as Harry Potter in the Harry Potter, especially during the later films when he felt his acting became stiff and he struggled to watch his own performances. He has admitted in interviews that he sometimes found early portrayals awkward, and that growing up in such a massive franchise made it hard to objectively enjoy his work, though he never truly disliked the character itself, instead feeling critical of his own execution at times over the years. Radcliffe has softened his view, expressing gratitude for the role that defined his career, while still honestly acknowledging that he sees flaws in his performance and prefers how he has developed as an actor in more independent and varied roles since the series ended. Harrison Ford has not strongly hated his most famous roles, but he has often shown frustration with aspects of them, especially his role as Han Solo in the Star Wars, where he repeatedly said he wanted the character to be killed off so the story would feel more meaningful, and so he could move on to other projects. Ford has also expressed mixed feelings about being closely identified with Han Solo for decades sometimes joking that he never fully understood the character's popularity, though he still respects the franchise's impact and acknowledges its importance in his career, while continuing to balance appreciation for the success with a desire for creative variety and more serious acting roles. Alec Guinness had a famously complicated relationship with his role as Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Star Wars, often expressing discomfort with the dialogue and the way the character was written, which he felt was less refined than the classical theater work he was used to. In letters and interviews, he admitted that while the film brought him enormous global recognition and financial security, he found it difficult to take some of the lines seriously and was not fully satisfied with the character's depth, even joking that the script felt fairy tale-like in a way that didn't match his usual dramatic standards. Despite this criticism, Guinness also acknowledged the positive impact the role had on his career, legacy, and remained respectful of the franchise's success, even if he personally preferred more grounded and traditional acting roles throughout his life. Shia LaBeouf has expressed mixed feelings about his role as Sam Witwicky in the Transformers, saying he eventually felt the franchise focused more on action and visual effects than character depth. He admitted in interviews that he became less satisfied with his performance and the direction of the later films, which made him feel disconnected from the role, and he later stepped away from the series to pursue more personal and independent projects. LaBeouf has also reflected on other big studio films like Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, acknowledging disappointment with how some creative choices turned out, and he now views these experiences as lessons that pushed him toward more challenging and artist-driven roles. Zac Efron has spoken about having mixed feelings toward his role as Troy Bolton in the High School Musical, saying that while it made him famous worldwide, he sometimes struggled with being strongly associated with a clean teen idol image and felt the early roles were limiting. As he tried to grow as an actor, he has admitted in interviews that he later wanted to break away from that persona and explore more serious and diverse characters, which led him to take on darker and more mature projects over time. Efron has expressed gratitude for the franchise's success, but also acknowledged that he initially felt creatively boxed in by the character and its expectations. Charlize Theron has been open about having complicated feelings towards some early roles, including her character as Aileen Wuornos in The Monster, saying that while the performance earned her major acclaim, the emotional intensity of playing such a real and disturbed person was deeply draining and difficult to revisit. She has also spoken more generally about certain action roles where she felt the focus leaned heavily on physical transformation rather than emotional depth, which at times made her question how fully she connected with the character. Despite this, Theron has consistently acknowledged that these challenging roles helped shape her career, even if she sometimes felt uncomfortable or detached from parts of the experience, and she now chooses projects more carefully to maintain stronger creative and emotional balance. Sean Connery famously had mixed feelings about his role as James Bond in the James Bond film series, saying over time that he became frustrated with being typecast and constantly associated with the same character. While he helped define Bond's image and brought huge global success to the franchise, Connery often admitted he wanted to move beyond the role and explore more varied, serious acting work, feeling that the character limited his artistic range. He even left the series at one point because of this creative dissatisfaction, though he later returned for a film, balancing financial incentives with his complicated relationship to the role, and he ultimately reflected on Bond as both a career-making opportunity and a long-term typecasting challenge. Bill Murray has expressed mixed feelings about some of his roles, especially early mainstream comedy parts like his character in Ghostbusters, where he felt the huge success sometimes overshadowed his desire for more subtle, character-driven acting. He has also been known to critique his own performances in certain studio comedies, saying he didn't always feel fully connected to the material or creative control on set. Despite this, Murray has consistently balanced humor with reflection, acknowledging that while these roles made him a cultural icon, he later preferred smaller, more artistic films where improvisation and mood mattered more than big commercial structure, viewing his career as a mix of blockbuster success and personal artistic exploration. Jim Carrey has spoken openly about having mixed feelings towards some of his most famous comedic roles, including his character in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, saying that while the role made him a global comedy star, he sometimes felt uncomfortable with how exaggerated and one-dimensional the character became in pop culture. He has also reflected that during his peak comedy years, he was often expected to stay in loud, energetic roles, which later made him want to step away and explore more serious acting. Over time, Carey has admitted that he began questioning the meaning of fame itself and preferred roles that allowed deeper emotional expression while still acknowledging that his early characters were important in shaping his career and comedic legacy. Penn Badgley has been very open about his complicated feelings toward his role as Joe Goldberg in The U, saying that while the show became a major success, he often struggles with playing a character who is manipulative, obsessive, and violent. Badgley has explained in interviews that he does not personally admire Joe and feels uneasy about how some viewers romanticize the character. Even though the role is central to his recent fame, over time he has used public discussions to emphasize the darker themes of the story and distance himself from glorifying Joe's actions, viewing the role more as a challenge in storytelling than something he enjoys embodying. Andrew Garfield has spoken about having mixed feelings toward his role as Peter Parker Spider-Man in The Amazing Spider-Man, saying that while he loved the character, the pressure of leading a major franchise and the limitations of studio storytelling sometimes made the experience creatively frustrating. He has admitted in interviews that he wished he could have explored a more emotional and human version of Peter Parker, but felt constrained by expectations around tone and commercial direction. Over time, Garfield has expressed appreciation for the role's impact on fans and his career, but also honesty about how intense and demanding the experience was, which ultimately led him to step back and focus on more character-driven projects before later returning to the role in a more fulfilling way in crossover appearances.